Hello 6th graders, we are still in Unit 6. This is our last video for the integers unit on multiplying and dividing integers. Learning target, I can multiply and divide integers. So make sure you have the unit written down, the title, and the learning target. If you are using the note packet, have that out ready to go. Multiplying integers, so that's our little subheading here. Remember that multiplication is the same as repeated addition. So if we had 4 times -3, that just means we're taking -3 and we are adding it, used as an addendum, 4 times, adding it 4 times over. And if we were to do that, -3 plus -3, and it's shown here on the number line, take -3, add 3 more to it, that gets us to -6, add another -3, -9, add 3 more, and that gets us to -12. By the commutative property, this is where we can change the order of the numbers. 4 times -3 is the same as 3 times -4. So here is what we need to make sure is written down in our notes. Multiplying integers with different signs. So that means where one of the numbers is positive and one of them is negative. A positive times a negative will always be a negative. So the product of two integers with different signs is negative. So a positive times a negative equals a negative, and a negative times a positive will always equal a negative. And there's a couple examples there for us. So let's practice. So our multiplication is going to be the same. So 3 times -5, again, make sure you have the problem written down. Well, 3 times 5 is 15. And the signs are different, so that means the answer is going to be negative. A positive times a negative equals a negative. Next one, -6 times 8. Just as another reminder, when a number is attached to a parenthesis like that, that means multiplication. There is a multiplication sign there, it's just not shown. Okay. So, well, 6 times 8 is 48. And a negative times a positive is a negative. Pause, try the next one on your own before you come back to check. 9 times -2. Well, 9 times 2 is 18. And the signs are different, so that means our answer is going to be negative. Last one, 7 times 4 is 28. Signs are different, so our answer is negative. So anytime, again, a positive times a negative equals a negative, and a negative times a positive equals a negative. Okay, so now we are looking at multiplying with integers with the same sign. So think about this. We were just talking about a positive times a negative equals a negative, showing this here, 2 times -3, 1 times -3, 0 times -3. If we look at the answers, -6, -3, 0, each time we are adding 3 to it. And if we were to continue with that pattern, the next one would be a +3 and then a +6. So what that means is that if we have a negative number and we're multiplying it by another negative, our answer is going to be positive. So write this part down, multiplying integers with the same sign. The product of two integers with the same sign is always positive. So we know this from positive times positives equal positives. If it's a negative times a negative, our answer is going to be a positive. Okay, so another subheading here, multiplying integers with the same signs. So again, our multiplication is the same. 11 times 9 is 99, and a negative times a negative is going to give us a positive. So if both numbers are negative, our answer is positive. Next one, again, make sure you have the problems written down and the answers. -4 to the power, or to the second power. So if I were to write this, it would be -4, again the parenthesis is just holding the negative on there, to the second power. What that means is -4 times -4. 4 times 4 is 16, and a negative times a negative is a positive. And again, you do not need to include the positive sign. We could just write our answer as 16. Now when we have 3 numbers, let's start by multiplying the first 2 together. So -3 times -4, well, 3 times 4 is 12, and a negative times a negative is going to be a positive. And then we are going to multiply that by a negative 2. So now 12 times 2 is 24. And we have a positive and a negative, so the signs are different, so our answer is going to be negative. Pause, try the next ones on your own, and then come back and check your answers. So we have negative 5 times negative 12. 5 times 12, or 12 times 5 is 60, and a negative makes a positive. Negative 5 to the second power, again, that means negative 5 like this. So that means we're taking negative 5 times negative 5, not negative 5 times 2. 5 times 5 is 25, and a negative make a positive. Last one, multiply the first two numbers together. Well, 7 times 5 is 35, and a negative make a positive, and we are multiplying that by negative 3. So 35 times 3 is 105. And a positive and a negative make a negative. Okay, now we're looking at dividing integers. So division of numbers is related to multiplication. When finding the quotient of two integers, you can use a related multiplication sentence. So if we had 2 times 6 is 12, that's the same or similar to doing 12 divided by 2 equals 6. So the factor in the multiplication sentence is the quotient. What that means is the number that we are multiplying in our problem would be the answer in a division sentence. So since multiplication and division sentences are related, they're similar, you can use them to find the quotient of integers with different signs. So just like we had before, if we have 2 times a negative 6 equals a negative 12, then that means negative 6 divided by a positive 2 is a negative 6. Or if we had a negative 2 times negative 6 equals a positive 12, then a positive 12 divided by a negative 2 equals negative 6. So really what this is all saying is that our rules to dividing are the same as multiplication. So write this part down. Dividing integers with different signs. The quotient of two integers with different signs is negative. So if we have a negative divided by a positive, our answer is going to be negative. And if we have a positive divided by a negative, our answer will be negative. And those two examples are showing that there. So let's practice dividing integers with different signs. 80 divided by 10. So again, do your division. Well, 80 divided by 10 is 8. And a positive divided by a negative makes a negative. Next one, that line right here is a division symbol. So it just means we're taking negative 55 divided by 11. Well, 55 divided by 11 is 5. And a negative divided by a positive is a negative. Okay, pause, try the next ones on your own. 20 divided by negative 4. Positive divided by a negative will give us a negative. 20 divided by 4 is 5. Negative 81 divided by 9. A 81 divided by 9 is 9, and a negative divided by a positive is a negative. Last one, negative 45 divided by 9. Well, 45 divided by 9 is 5, and a negative divided by a positive makes a negative. So again, different signs, the answer will be negative. Okay, now when we are dividing integers with the same signs, just like when we were multiplying with the same sign, and the answer came back positive, same thing with dividing, and that again is shown here with those multiplication and division statements. Yeah. So make sure you've got this written down. If two integers have the same sign, it's going to be positive. So a negative divided by a negative is a positive, just like a positive divided by a positive is a positive. So let's try that. Negative 14 divided by negative 7. Well, 14 divided by 7 is 2, and a negative divided by a negative, the sign is positive. Next one, we have a negative 24 divided by negative 6. Well, negative 4. 24 divided by 4 is 6, and a negative would be a positive 6. Negative 9 divided by negative 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3, and the signs are the same, negative and negative, so that means our answer is a positive. And negative 28 divided by negative 7. Well, 28 divided by 7 is 4, and a negative divided by a negative makes a positive. Evaluate the expression. So that means we're going to plug the numbers in to the problem and then solve from there. So we have PQR. So what that means, again, when they are combined like that, that means we are taking P times Q times R. So let's see. P is -3 times a +4 times a -1. 3 times 4 is 12, and a negative and a positive make a negative, times a -1. Well, 12 times 1 is 12, and a negative and a negative make a positive. Next one, evaluate -16 divided by x if x equals -4. So again, make sure you have the whole problem written down so that you understand when you're going to look back at your notes what's happening. So -16 divided by, we're going to plug -4 in for x. 16 divided by 4 is 4, and a negative make a positive. So a +4. Now pause, try these two on your own. Evaluate x, y, z if x equals -7, y equals -4, and z equals 2. So again, plugging these numbers in for each of these. So that really means x times y times z. So x is -7 times y, which is -4, times z, which is 2. Start with the first two numbers. -7 times -4, well, a negative and negative would be a +28 times 2. Now positive and a positive will equal a positive, and 28 times 2 is 56. +56. Last one, evaluate a divided by b if a equals -9 and b equals -3. So -9 divided by a -3. Again, the parentheses is just holding the negative with the number. So 9 divided by 3 is 3, and a negative divided by a negative, the signs are the same, so that means it's going to be a +3. All right, just like we've had for our other ones, these are the key concepts for multiplying and dividing integers. The rules are the same for both multiplying and dividing, so you could just take these and substitute it for positive divided by positive equals positive. We have positive times negative is a negative, so that's the same as positive divided by negative equals a negative. Negative times positive equals negative, so same thing, division. Negative divided by positive equals negative. And a negative times a negative is a positive, so a negative divided by a negative equals a positive. So make sure you have this written down in your notebook. That's all for multiplying and dividing integers. Go back and look to see, do you have everything in your notebook that you should? Title, learning targets, vocab words with definitions, all the examples with the work and everything to go with them. Check your understanding. Is this something that you could explain to somebody else? If you are feeling confused or stuck still, go back and re-watch parts of the video. Go and watch any of the other teachers' videos. There's always practice problems on iExcel that you can do. Make sure you have your notes in class, so put them in your notebook right now so that you have them for activities and the target checks.